Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, had earlier at his press conference said the claim of self-defense is BS, using the full word. So we've got a complete war of words, as we say, over the narrative of what's happened here.
Here to go through it with us is the Times assistant US editor, David Charter. Good evening, David.
Good afternoon from Washington, D.C.
Look, it's great to have you with you. I'm sure your news feeds and TV channels, radio stations are full of what the US is enacting in terms of taking shadow vessels. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt provided an update earlier today.
This administration is going to fully enforce the sanction policy of the United States. The vessel this morning was seized in the North Atlantic pursuant to a warrant issued by a U.S. federal court after being tracked. And this was a Venezuelan shadow fleet vessel that has transported sanctioned oil. And the United States of America, under this president, is not going to tolerate that. I would also just add the vessel had a judicial seizure order in the crew. So that means the crew is now subject to prosecution for any applicable violation of federal law. And they will be brought to the United States for such prosecution if necessary.
Is this being interpreted as a show of strength by Donald Trump and the US military over there, David?
Yes, absolutely. It's been applauded by the Republican side, of course, and Donald Trump supporters for enforcing the writ of US law, because there was, as Caroline Leavitt set out, a judicial seizure order on the vessel, which had, until it got into the waters off the coast of the British Isles, it had managed to evade capture. It was being tailed by a Coast Guard vessel for days and days. And in fact, during the apparent escape of this vessel that it seemed to paint a Russian flag on the side and come up with a new name and registration. But that did not deter the Americans. And in fact, there was an explanation from Caroline Leavitt that they regarded this vessel not as the Marinero, as it's been renamed, but she only referred to it as the Bella One, which was its previous name when it got the judicial order issued against it. And she said that the US had deemed it stateless, and this all seems to be part of the American case that Russia had no claim on this vessel, that it was a stateless vessel, well known for illicitly running Venezuelan oil.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there are various shadow vessels out there, and of course there is a sort of US blockade of those around Venezuela, and there are tie-ins here with the a provision of oil and this supply of military equipment from Iran to Russia. There's all sorts of things interlinked here for Donald Trump that makes it a double win for him. We have heard more about the US's plans for oil as well, haven't we? The Secretary of State Marco Rubio explained plans for the US to extract and sell 30 to 50 million barrels of oil from Venezuela. And also overnight, David, I think there was the plan split 50-50, I think, the spoils of any Venezuelan oil seized.
Right. So that 30 to 50 million barrels is the initial amount claimed by America that Donald Trump also announced, didn't he? And we think that's the amount that they found in Venezuela that's been blockaded, that they haven't been able to move out of the country, but that's actually in storage. So there's not that doesn't need to be necessarily extracted. That's the first, if you like, tranche of oil that the Americans say they are already beginning to market on the international markets, and they will oversee the sale of this through American financial institutions and in dollars. And after that, Caroline Leavitt said there is a long-term plan, because she was asked, well, what happens after that 30 to 50 million barrels? That seems to be an initial American seizure of oil. And we know that they've got a meeting. The Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, has got a meeting with oil companies on Friday to discuss the longer term plans for American companies moving in and starting to extract more of the oil. And he actually said this morning, he used the word indefinitely. He said that we're first marketing the stored oil, and then we will be indefinitely marketing Venezuelan crude.
We also heard from Marco Rubio today. He sort of insisted earlier that the US is not winging it in Venezuela, and he said that they've got a 3-step plan for Venezuela. Begin with stabilising the country. That's after, of course, UK forces seized Nicolas Maduro on Saturday. Overseeing the country's recovery, he said, and finally a transition to a more representative form of government. This is what Reuters has been reporting this evening. We don't want it descending into chaos, says Rubio. He also said that he'd been working with Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez. He's spoken with her several times since the weekend's raid in Caracas. Again, so many different branches to what's happening here that do all link, whether we talk about Venezuelan oil and the shadow fleet, or whether we talk about what's happening on the ground in Venezuela, David.
Well, there's an element of good cop, bad cop here, because we've got Donald Trump saying that America is running the country. We've got Rubio, who, whenever he appears, is talking about, no, it's not some sort of regime change takeover. It's actually all of the Maduro regime have been left in place, apart from it's been decapitated of the actual head of the regime. And so Delcy Rodriguez, who's been sworn in as the new president, has been saying that no external agent is governing Venezuela. Well, she's on a tightrope as well, trying to explain what the emerging situation, which is, as Rubio says, that the Americans are in constant communication. I think Levitt put it as close correspondence with the regime there. There's clearly been a lot of backroom negotiating and dealing going on that we're not party to yet. That's left in place also 2 very powerful cabinet members who were on the indictment with Maduro, the interior minister and the defense minister. In other words, the man in charge of the army and the man in charge of the police have been left in place, and they are, as far as we can tell, anti-American and pro-Maduro. So it's still an emerging picture of what kind of deal has been done for them to stay in place. But what was significant, I thought, in the Caroline Levitt's press conference was she kept referring to the Venezuelan government as interim.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Just on Greenland, we know that Marco Rubio has confirmed that talks with Denmark over the future ownership of Greenland will take place next week. We've heard from Caroline Levitt too, who said the first priority is always diplomacy in these issues, after the White House said last night that they were looking at options to acquire Greenland. I'll park that there because I do want to talk about the ICE agent shooting. The 37-year-old woman has been shot and killed by an immigration and customs enforcement agent in Minnesota. The Department of Homeland Security said the shooting happened as a violent rioter allegedly attempted to run over an immigration officer. The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, has accused ICE officers of causing chaos and has told them to get out of the city.
I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave.
Really strong words there. At the moment, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, remember him, was the VP choice of Kamala Harris when she went on her run for US president. He's speaking at the moment, Tim Walz, actually, so I'll update us with anything we get from that. But it seems like a real war of attrition here between what's happening in Minneapolis and what the ICE agents are trying to do here, what immigration officials are trying to do, David.
So this would happen in Minneapolis, wouldn't it? It's just you almost couldn't make it up with America. This is the city, of course, where George Floyd was murdered by a policeman, and it was all caught on video, and that triggered a whole summer of very violent rioting across America in 2020. Now this incident has occurred in the very same city, and something like this, it feels, has been brewing with very quite aggressive anti-ICE protesters have been trying to block these federal agents coming into cities, which are largely Democrat controlled and Democrat voting. The activists try and put themselves in the way of the agents to stop them getting to migrant communities and trying to arrest people on behalf of the federal government. There are two videos doing the rounds showing two different perspectives of what's happened today in Minneapolis. One shows from one side of the road shows the ICE agents shouting at this red car, shouting at the driver of it to get out. The driver reverses a little bit and then tries to drive off, and you hear gunshots. And then you see the car speeding up and ramming into another car down the road as if it's completely lost control. And that's, of course, because the driver's been hit and killed. The other one's just been posted by Donald Trump. He's defending the ICE agents. And this is from a different angle, and you can see a bit blurry, but it seems to show that when the vehicle moves off, it does bump into the agent with the gun. Now, there's no sound on that. At least I can't really hear any sound on it at the moment. It's literally just been posted by Trump. So if people are that interested to look at both of the angles, Trump is saying that the car was very disorderly, violently, willfully and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, had earlier at his press conference said the claim of self-defense is BS, using the full word. So we've got a complete war of words, as we say, over the narrative of what's happened here. And we have not heard the last of this. This is really going to blow up, I think.
Yeah.
Despite everything else that's going on. So much is going on, but
so
this
much.
all of a sudden has become a very big story
I'm
in
looking
America.
at pictures from Minneapolis of people dressed in black walking the streets. You know, the streets are heavily populated with people dressed in black. And we remember that, of course, partly from it is reminiscent of what we saw during George Floyd protests as well. This looks perhaps more sinister. Tim Walz, the governor, has said what we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines and conflict. The governor's office, he says, has reached out to Homeland Security, Security Kristi Noem. She's expected to arrive in Minneapolis later today. Kristi Noem is. She's the Homeland Security Secretary. Apologies. So quite a bit going on there, and as you say, David, this is only going to get bigger. Thank you for giving us your assessment of it. David Charter is the assistant US editor for The Times, and you can find reporting on those stories up on thetimes.com and in tomorrow's paper.